Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Staltari, and I am a genealogist and a passionate traveler. Over the last several years, I've been focusing my attention on Les Filles du Roi, a group of women who came to New France, about 700 of them. We're on episode 218, come a long way. So we will be exploring episode 218 in a moment. I just want to let you know that we do have a couple of ways that you can help the channel. Subscribe, like, and notify are all ways you can help. And then also, if you want to help financially, we have Patreon, which is a monthly subscription, anywhere from $1 to 25. And then we also have a Patreon, which you can determine what you want. And also on my website, Have Roots Will Travel, I have a PayPal button as well. And also, if you go on my website, you know that there is a spot where you can actually see all of the videos that I've done, episodes I've done. So you can actually search it alphabetically or by number, whatever you decide. So with that being said, let's get started and see who we're featuring on episode 218. Episode 218, her name is Marguerite Collet, or Colette. And it was a viewer's suggestion, and also one of my genealogy colleagues, who she knows who she is this is also one of her great grandmothers. So let's explore Marguerite and her life. Marguerite was born in 1653 in Paris, France. Her parents were Eustache Collet and Marie Fournier. She was born in the parish of Saint Benoit, which I have drawn an illustration, or not drawn, I haven't drawn, but I picked out an illustration here. It no longer exists, but here's what it looks like. It was situated in the 5th arrondissement, which, as you know, in Paris, it's laid out in circles. It is actually the oldest in Paris and was actually built by the Romans. Traces of the area's past survive in such sites as the Arène de Lutèce, which is a Roman amphitheater, as well as the Thermes de Cluny, a Roman thermal bath. It's also known as the Panthéon, and it is found on the Rive Gauche, the left bank of the River Seine. It's also one of the Paris's most prestigious districts. It's found in this arrondissement is the Quartier Latin, Latin Quarter, which isn't what we think of when it is because it's overflowing with universities, colleges, and high schools. And the Sorbonne is found here since the 12th century. So the use of the word Latin goes by studying Latin. And what we want to note here is this is the arrondissement as it appears right here, just to give you kind of that feeling when you're walking in the 5th arrondissement. You really are walking in the steps of history. And that is where Marguerite is from. After her father's death, she would travel on La Nouvelle France and arrive in Quebec City on July 30th, 1670. The groom that she selected and who selected her, his name was Jacques Bissonnet de Deschamaux, and he was born in 1645 in a commune called La Chapelle-Palou in France. His parents were Jean Bissonnet and Marie Goupillois. It is part of the Pays de la Loire region, and it is in the Département of Vendée. There are less than 1,000 people that live there now, very small. The church at La Chapelle is right here on your upper left of your screen, and then just a very picturesque scene of what this countryside looks like. Very, very peaceful. So Jacques would come to New France as an engagé, and we can see him here, Jacques Boissonnet. He's 21 years old, and he's a domestic. This is in the 1666 census. And so they were married at Boucherville, November 19, 1670. They would settle in Varennes. Varennes is an off-island suburb of Montreal, and it is found on the St. Lawrence River. It's about 15 miles from downtown Montreal. There's about 20,000 people that live there. The history of Varennes started with the arrival of the Carignan-Salient Regiment. René Gauthier, who was the Sœur de Varennes, was given 3 concessions by by the intendant Jean Talon in 1672. He acquired Le Tremblay, La Gabelle, and Varennes. Jacques René, one of his sons, was the second seigneur of Varennes. 5 seigneuries later composed the Varennes parish, so it kept growing. These are the seigneuries of du Cap de Varennes, de l'Île Sainte-Thérèse, de Grande Maison, du Cap de la Trinité, and du Cap Saint-Michel. The town was captured by the British in 1760 during the Montreal campaign. It was part of the province of Quebec and then of Lower Canada before being returned to Quebec in 1867 due to the Canadian Confederation. And here we are at 1681 census. We have Jacques, Marguerite, their children Pierre, Nicolas, Louise, Jean, Jacques, Françoise. They have 1 gun, they have 3 goats, and 8 about 6 acres of land. They would go on to have 16 children. Pierre would die at 15. Nicolas would marry Marie-Barbe Villedieu and have 14 children, 8 of whom would make it. Louise would marry Paul Fritzy and have 12 children, 8 of whom would make it. Paul's mother was Marie Popanen, who we profiled in our Fille Mariée series, episode number 3. We have Jean, who married Catherine Charles and would have 2 children, 1 of whom would make it. Catherine's mother was Madeleine Neal, who we profiled in episode 43. Jacques would die at 9 years of age. Françoise would marry André Langlois, but did not have any children before her early death at 27. Then we have Catherine, who would marry René Messier and have 4 children, all of whom survived. Alexis would marry Geneviève Sénécal and have 7 children, 6 of whom would survive. Jacques would die at the age of 2. Marie Marguerite would die in infancy. Michel would die in infancy as well. And Paul would marry Marianne Brodard and have 4 children before his early death at 34. Elisabeth would have 18 children, all of whom would die. Just heartbreaking. I haven't seen that. Joseph would marry, I'm losing my place, would marry Marie-Joseph Lalue and have 1 child who survived. Jacques would die at 2 years of age, and René we have no more information on. That's a lot of kids. Jacques would die first at the age of 78 in the year 1723. They had been married 53 years when he passed. Marguerite would live on another 7 years, dying herself at the age of 77. They would have a descendancy of 107 descendants as of 1729. Very remarkable. Marguerite is featured in the book Les Filles du Roi, Pionnières des Seigneuries de Varennes et de Verchères. Have a look at that if you want to pursue some further information on this. It is in French. Here are some of the resources I use. Filles du Roi Descendants is a Facebook, if you're on Facebook. It's a wonderful group. I think they're up to maybe 6,000, 7,000 followers. And just amazing, very, very generous and very supportive. And, you know, if somebody has a question, they are very, very good at responding. So I would absolutely have a look at that if Facebook is your thing. So ends episode 218. Marguerite's life was one in which she became a pioneer, had a tremendous amount of children, and was able to be there at Varennes for a very long time, establishing those really strong roots in and around Montreal. So if that is your heritage, you can be first of all, very, very proud. But ultimately, very strong. You can feel that they were connected, and they didn't let go. And so it goes. So would be fascinated to know how many of you are descendants of this very, very special woman. So without further ado, let me also thank my patrons and supporters. Thank you so much for your support. Also, all my subscribers. Thank you, everyone who watches. You really mean the world to me, and your comments and suggestions are always, always appreciated. I also want to shout out to Shelby for gifting me with some tremendous artwork that she has done, and you can see it throughout the episode. Thank you so very, very much for doing that, Shelby. I really am beyond grateful. So, with that being said, I will say adieu and au revoir until I see you on episode 219.